So I've been permanently taken out of the dating game thanks to my incredible fiance, and thank God for her, because the internet just introduced me to a new option on the dating app Bumble that feels eerily dystopian. When the dating app asks what you're looking for, you now have the option to choose intimacy without commitment. In other words, I'm just trying to smash, and maybe we can turn this whole thing into a situationship. Uncertainty and fear surrounding modern dating are growing stronger than ever. Commitment feels more risky, options are at an abundance, and so many people are voluntarily or involuntarily finding themselves in a relationship with no real title or structure behind it. Situationships might not always be a bad thing, but when systemic issues within our society encourage situationships over lasting love, I do believe it leads us to be more untrustworthy of each other, less fulfilled, and even hinders our ability to self-actualize. So let's talk about how love develops, the obstacles preventing it from flourishing in today's world, and how you can navigate modern situationships, and maybe even find real love as I have in a post-pandemic world. I like to think of love the same way many of you do, a mysterious ethereal force that unfolds when we meet our soulmate, making the world momentarily feel complete. But there's actually a decent bit of science behind falling in love and why we do it. Unlike lust, which is often mistaken for love and driven by a surge of testosterone in both sexes, love is primarily fueled by dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and emotional bonding. A study conducted in 2005 analyzed 17 brain scans of college students who viewed pictures of someone special to them and compared the scans to ones taken when the students looked at pictures of acquaintances. And photos of people they romantically loved caused the participants' brains to become active in regions rich with dopamine. This intuitively makes sense. All mammalian species evolved to be highly concerned with reproduction. Mating and falling in love increases the likelihood of us wanting to reproduce, and so the brain evolved to have this program that basically says, hey, if this person ticks enough of the right boxes, I'm gonna get you addicted to them so you're more likely to smash. Of course, human psychology is far more complex than that, and our reasons for falling in love often feel illogical, but what's going to be relevant to this part of the video is knowing that when you're falling in love, you're releasing a ton of dopamine when you think about, see, or are with that person. During this period, you're likely to feel intense feelings of passion toward this person as you are slowly learning more about them, and this is what one might refer to as the honeymoon phase. There's actually a more clinical term for this phenomenon known as the rate of change in intimacy model, which is a concept I first came across through Dr. K from Healthy Gamer GG. As outlined in this paper titled What Fuels Passion by Kathleen Carswell and Emily Impett, passion results from increases in intimacy that occur, for example, as romantic partners learn new details about one another, share new experiences, and communicate affection toward one another. This is why the honeymoon phase feels so special. First, it's a novel experience, something the brain craves. Second, if you and your partner are deeply connecting, your brain floods with dopamine, reinforcing the relationship. It's as if your mind whispers, let me fill your thoughts with images of you two hugging, surprising each other, and exchanging gifts so you'll keep coming back for more. But as many of you know, that phase doesn't last forever. The more that you become familiar with someone and the less frequent the surprises and novelty, the more that passion and dopamine rush begins to stabilize or even fade. This brings me to the first reason why I believe situationships are on the rise. Serial dating has never been easier, and for those who embrace a more superficial approach to relationships, the thrill of falling in love can become an addiction. Rather than seeking the depth of true connection, many chase the fleeting highs of infatuation, an experience made even more common by the countless ways we can now meet and interact. Some creators on TikTok, for example, will post content updates of their online dating adventures, sometimes even going on up to 3 dates per day.
I'm going on a date, so let's have a drink. I am going on a date, so let's make a drink.
I'm going on a date. Let's have some coffee.
If you've watched any sort of red pill content in the past, this approach to dating might seem very familiar to you as well. A very common sentiment amongst red pill channels is to date multiple women at once so you don't seem desperate and so you can keep your options open.
You know, date multiple women, man, so you can compare.
Just stay abundant by dating other women and not going into scarcity by only seeing one girl and investing all your time, resources, and energy into one girl so fast.
You were talking about you think you should date multiple girls?
Yeah, you have to.
Why? You don't think eventually, you just want that one girl that you have that thing with?
The reason why, women are very selfish, and what I mean by that is they're always looking for the bigger, better deal.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking right now. What's wrong with dating multiple people? It's definitely one of those gray area zones. In order to figure out what you like in a partner, you gotta date a little bit, and dating multiple people at once allows you to streamline that process. So although there's nothing inherently wrong with it, I think what matters more is the intention behind it and what happens when you take it to the extreme. Speaking of things taken to the extreme, how about all these websites that are constantly trying to steal your information and exploit you by giving you personalized ads based on a few Google searches? Online safety is more important than ever, so that is why I want to talk about today's sponsor, Cyberghost VPN. Cyberghost routes your traffic through a secure, encrypted tunnel, keeping your IP hidden and your data private. Just turn on Cyberghost VPN before you browse, and it encrypts and reroutes 100% of your traffic through their secure servers, so no one will even know about your online activity. What I really like about Cyberghost VPN is that they don't keep their own logs on what you do either, so they themselves don't even know what you do. With just a few clicks, you can change your virtual location and unlock geo-blocked content from tons of streaming services, including Netflix, Amazon Prime, and a lot more. I personally use it to switch my location to Japan, allowing me to access shows with Japanese subtitles that aren't available on the US Netflix servers since I'm learning Japanese. With a Cyberghost subscription, you can also use it on your phone, tablet, or whatever else you browse on to make sure you're protected. Right now, they are offering $2.03 a month plus 4 free months. That's 84% off. And if you find that you aren't getting a lot of use out of their subscription, they also offer a 45-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to protect yourself from these shady sites that are trying to steal your data, or you're just trying to get access to more TV shows and movies on streaming services, you can click the first link in my description in the description box below to get the discount. I think we should discuss the damage caused by dating apps because that can provide deeper insight into this issue and help connect it back to my original point about the rate of change in intimacy model. Hinge's slogan is the dating app designed to be deleted, but let's be honest, dating apps don't profit from people finding lasting love. Like social media platforms, they're designed to keep you hooked, swiping endlessly in search of something that always feels just out of reach. A Forbes survey found that 79% of Gen Z users report dating app burnout, citing reasons such as difficulty finding meaningful connections, being ghosted or lied to, rejection, and the exhaustion of messaging multiple people with repetitive conversations. I think the two most important reasons to focus on here are being ghosted or lied to and messaging multiple people, because rejection and a failure to find meaningful connections is very normal. It's not a new thing. Dating apps claim to make intentions clearer, but anyone who has actually used one knows that online dating is really fucking confusing. Besides the fact that 80% of dating app users are men, meaning only a small percentage of them get consistent matches, you're forced to judge someone based on a few curated photos and a short bio. This structure incentivizes users to optimize their profiles rather than present an authentic version of themselves, making it even harder to determine if someone is genuinely compatible in real life. Yes, physical attraction is obviously super important, especially in the early stages of a relationship, but an initial impression of someone on a dating app can often be way more deceiving than in real life. For instance, let's say you match with this person you found cute and they seem to be your type. According to their profile, they're pretty adventurous and they like to try new things. They are looking for a monogamous relationship and a long-term relationship, but they're open to a short one. Well, that's good enough for me, you think to yourself. Your opening line works and you have some conversation. Here's scenario 1. After a couple days, they stop responding. Really? We haven't even met yet. What was the point of matching if they weren't even gonna give me a real chance and we weren't gonna meet up in person anyways? Here's scenario 2. You meet up and they are nothing like their profile, both the way they describe their interests and their appearance. You feel deceived and don't want to meet up again. Here's scenario 3. You do meet up. The date goes well in your eyes. At the end of the date, you say you'd like to do this again and they agree. Then you never hear from them again and they've unmatched you on the dating app. You have absolutely no idea what you did. All you know is you feel worse about yourself. And here's scenario 4. They said they wanted a long-term relationship, but they were open to a short one. They said they wanted monogamy. You guys go on multiple dates and you feel yourself developing a deeper connection with them. The dreaded, "where is this headed and what are we?" question pops up, and they say they don't want anything serious. You now feel like an absolute dumbass for letting this person lead you on and misguide you with their muddied intentions that they put on their dating app profile. Yeah, no wonder people are burned out by dating apps. This phenomenon of such unclear intentions in dating is still relatively new. Of course, people who have led other people on have always existed, but the digital age has drastically amplified this issue. Dating apps make it effortless for those addicted to the initial butterfly feelings to juggle multiple conversations at once, creating an illusion of endless possibilities. At the same time, these platforms subtly encourage users to stay engaged, not by fostering genuine connections, but by making it easy to treat matches as disposable. By design, they encourage an endless cycle of novelty, making it effortless to replace one person with another at the first sign of emotional stagnation. When every interaction is reduced to a swipe, attraction becomes gamified and commitment takes a back seat to instant gratification. This shift warps our expectations of intimacy, making it harder to appreciate the more meaningful, slower process of falling into love rather than falling in love. The rapid highs of early romance, fueled by constant dopamine spikes, create an illusion that love should always feel exciting and new. But when that intensity naturally levels off, many interpret it as a sign that the connection is no longer special, leading them to seek out the next rush instead of embracing the deeper phases of intimacy. Now, tying this back to the scientific aspect, dopamine and the rate of change in intimacy model, it turns out that, surprise, surprise, love requires undivided attention to develop. In other words, the act of searching for that spark by dividing your attention amongst multiple people is the very reason why that spark will probably never end up igniting. And that's on top of the confusion dating apps already create, like how Bumble allows users to select both intimacy without commitment and long-term relationship as their intentions at the same time. Yes, that's a real option. It's no wonder modern dating feels so frustrating when the very platforms designed to help people connect blur the lines between casual and committed, making it harder to know where you stand with someone. But even outside of dating apps, which have already created their own trust issues, social media is amplifying fear in people who might want stable long-term relationships, but now see them as too big of a risk. It's a point I keep coming back to in videos like this because honestly, it frustrates me so much about modern dating. A lot of social media thrives on rage baiting and negativity. It doesn't have a moral compass. It just wants to keep you engaged for as long as possible. And the natural consequence? The worst dating stories, toxic behaviors, and horror stories get pushed to the forefront, making commitment seem like a losing game before you even start. It shifts the focus from genuine connection to constant suspicion. Instead of thinking, man, I'm really getting to know this person well, I'm opening myself up to them, and it feels like our connection is deepening. People start thinking, is this going to end up like that horror story I saw on social media? How many other people are they talking to? Maybe I should just keep this as a situationship to protect myself. A lot of social media doesn't just document bad dating experiences, it conditions people to expect them, making it even harder to trust, be vulnerable, and build something real. I'm going to go deep into how I built that real something and what I think true love is, but first there's one more factor we need to address when we ask the question of why young people might be more inclined to pursue situationships over long-term relationships, and that is the uncertainty of the world. We were never meant to have access to every single problem plaguing the world at any given moment, but now that we do, the world feels more unstable than ever. And beyond just perception, there's objective evidence that it is unstable. The climate crisis, the housing crisis, the ever-widening wealth gap. With so much uncertainty, people are prioritizing self-preservation, aka focusing on their own stability before committing to something as demanding as a long-term relationship. And I don't blame them. This explanation doesn't fully account for the state of modern dating, but it plays a huge role. Marriage, which was once seen as a necessary milestone, is no longer expected or enforced. The natural progression of a serious relationship, commitment, marriage, and probably eventually children, becomes less appealing in a world where stability feels out of reach. So how do you rise above all of this? How do you find true love in a modern world that makes it so difficult? And how did I manage to develop it through someone who I met on a dating app? Personally, after years of being in relationships, one of the biggest realizations I've had about falling in love, compatibility, and long-term commitment is that a lot of it comes down to whether your partner aligns with your vision for self-expansion. So let me explain this through something that I found out, which is a scientific term for something I had explained in the past. And I don't know if you've ever had that experience where you have a thought or an idea around something and you write it out and then you realize there's a scientific term for it. When that happens to me, I'm like, damn, I must be on my Einstein shit. So a little while back, I tweeted this. I've realized falling in love is really a matter of finding out whether you want to become the person your partner will shape you to be. All relationship issues stem from a disagreement about how the other person acts. You say that one statement that sends them into fight or flight mode. You get confused because it's never been interpreted that way before. They spend an unusual amount of time away from their phone. You see it as a lack of affection, they see it as a natural part of who they are. The first step is to communicate these differences. Can you effectively address your concerns without being hostile or accusatory? Most people never get this far. The next step, and this is where the love is developed, is assessing whether you think these changes will genuinely make you a better person without changing the core of who you are. Do you like what the other person is suggesting? Do you think it could help you grow and become a better partner? If yes, you have something truly special. Each of you will point out triggers and flaws, communicate them, then work on them together. It's only once you've collectively conquered the storms that true love starts to bloom. Well, it turns out there's an official scientific name for this, and it's called the self-expansion model. As humans, we have a natural desire to grow and expand our sense of self. We want to adopt as many abilities and identities as we can and become as well-rounded of a person as we can in many different domains. When you meet someone, it gives you an incredible opportunity for you to address your triggers, flaws, and shortcomings by incorporating your romantic partner's resources, perspectives, and characteristics. And when we do that, passion and love for each other grows. That is essentially what the self-expansion model is. It is very often the case that we are naturally attracted to people who possess the abilities and traits that we wish we had ourselves. If you really pay attention to the people you're most attracted to, you'll likely notice this pattern. But the real question is, can you practice the patience and self-growth needed to integrate those qualities into your own identity? And more importantly, is it something you truly want to do in a way that is healthy for both you and your partner? If you find a relationship where this kind of growth is mutual, I believe it's one of the strongest predictors for long-term success. Not just for making love last, but deepening it over time. But make no mistake, this process is triggering. It requires you to be vulnerable, to let your partner see, understand, and openly discuss your insecurities, weaknesses, and the parts of yourself you may not be proud of. And yes, that means you'll probably get hurt, but in my opinion, that is far better than keeping love at a surface level to avoid the inevitable pain that comes from truly falling in love and expanding into a more actualized version of yourself. Among the various reasons I went over contributing to the rise of situationships, one of the most significant is the misguided understanding that the modern dating scene has instilled in many young people about what love truly looks like, feels like, and how it develops. In fact, this misconception may be as significant of a factor, if not larger, than the others I've discussed. It involves an initial process of disagreements that can be difficult to articulate, making it challenging to get through. But if you ask anyone who has been in love with the same person for years, they will likely tell you that all the rough patches, those moments that revealed parts of each other that they were initially ashamed or afraid of, ultimately strengthened their love. These experiences taught them to embrace their vulnerabilities and grow together, leading to a deeper, more resilient connection. And until we begin addressing the cultural and systemic issues that are shaping our increasingly distorted perception of love, situationships will continue to be the norm. Always love hearing your thoughts on stuff like this, so leave a comment below. And if you want to see another video where I kind of critique this whole men hating women and women hating men trend that's going on in the online world and a little bit in the real life as well, you can check out this video right here. Don't forget to check out Cyberghost VPN and get an 84% discount by clicking the link in the description. And I'm leaving. Go find love. I hope you do. Please don't be a doomer.